Hi, my name is Liz Whiteacre, and we are going to talk about why attribution is important in writing for college and careers today. In this video, we'll think about different types of sources that you may choose to use or be asked to use in a variety of different types of writing situations or rhetorical situations. Sometimes the sources that you might choose for a blog, say, are going to differ from a 20-page research paper, that or capstone project, what you might choose to use in a YouTube video or in a presentation to classmates or colleagues. We'll also think about how we can apply evaluative criteria to judge sources' trustworthiness and think about how we can write effective summary, direct quotation, and paraphrase so that we are communicating to our readers what the sources are telling us and teaching us. And we're doing that in a very transparent and accurate way. And also, we want to take a little bit of time today to think about the academic citation styles that you may be asked to use while you're in school and when you need to provide attributions in any situation. It's important when you think about your rhetorical situation, right? You are the communicator, you have an audience that you need to communicate a message to, and you want to foster a relationship built on trust. So, where you get your information and the type of information you use to illustrate your ideas or help you come up with your ideas, evidence for your ideas, it's important that you're building on a foundation of quality sources. So you say, yes, that helps me understand this. And then when you go to share that with somebody else, they see, oh, this person has really thought it through. They're basing this on really diverse, credible, reliable information. So their trust in you as a communicator is strengthened, and essentially they believe what you say. When you make a recommendation, they're like, well, yeah, that's probably a really good idea, because that person is always grounded in great information and very thoughtful about that. So diversity of sources would be different types of sources, kind of on a mode level. Why not a chapter from a book that's going to give you a different amount of depth than a peer-reviewed journal article, than a PBS documentary, than a YouTube video, than a popular magazine article versus a maybe an expert's blog or Twitter account. So you have diversity that way. And then you also have diversity in the voices, the perspectives. So seeking out not just information that you're drawn to because it supports your thinking or it supports your hypothesis, but also maybe looking at counterpoints or other perspectives so that as you are developing your ideas and sharing them with other people, you can be thinking about responding to people who might have different opinions or may have concerns. Well, what about this? You've already thought that through because you've engaged with source material that is a little bit different, or maybe on a little bit different path. Reliability means you can rely on the information, that what the source is providing you is something that you can fact check, something that you're seeing appear in other areas of literature, you're hearing other people talk about. It's not coming out of left field. It's often relevant. It's information that you can use right now that's connected. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it was from last week, but the type of source, the book, right, that might have been put out in the 60s is still relevant to the conversation you're having. The data itself doesn't matter so much as maybe the ideas that they tested, and you're interested in replicating them or applying them in a new situation. And then credibility is that sense of trust, the author's expertise, where they're sharing their work, maybe the publication or the platform, whether or not they've based their ideas on information you trust as a consumer of knowledge. All of those things should be in play as you're making choices. Now, you are going to be making these decisions daily, all the way from what am I basing my blog article on, to what am I basing my chemistry lab on, to what am I, basing my history paper on, and also what am I choosing to pass on in my social media accounts? How am I choosing to present myself in conversation or discussion in people in different situations? So as you grow these skills, this is something that is going to serve you in all aspects of your life, in my opinion, moving forward. So there are lots of different types of sources that can be appropriate for the different rhetorical situations you have. For example, oftentimes people will come into the university setting and say, I have been told never use Wikipedia as a source of information. I am someone who is actually taught developing content for Wikipedia. So I have a different relationship to it. For me, going to Wikipedia at the start of a project to get a sense of what something is, or maybe to answer a question that I have. Often my daughter might ask a question about something in history, and I'll be like, oh, I've forgotten, let me go check that out real quick. Or who is this person in popular culture? Wikipedia might be somewhere that I go. And Wikipedia does have, if you check out their website, a rating scale for their different pages. They get grades based on the number of links they have, who the contributors are, and what their expertises are. As fact checkers go through, you might be looking at a Wikipedia entry that has an A, like this is an outstanding source for information. And you might be looking at a Wikipedia that scores enough, something that might have misinformation or missing information that needs to be developed. So that's an example I point to sometimes where you really need to look at each individual entry and consider the depth, breadth, scope, relevance, reliability of the particular entry and how you're choosing to use that information. Is it kind of helping you get a sense of what's out there, and that might lead you to other sources? Down at the bottom, you might see some footnotes to specific citations where you could go look up different pieces of information or perspectives from publications. You can use it in a lot of different ways. So be careful about kind of that knee-jerk, oh, you can't use that type of source, but just be an educated consumer of information and think about what kind of information is being presented. Is that author, pulling in reliable information to create their discussion? What is the rhetorical situation? Are they writing to entertain you? Are they, writing to consider other points of view? Are they writing to provide just kind of facts, data? That's important to keep in mind as you go through in all different types of sources and in media. You're going to find reputation to be very helpful. I know a lot of people will trust going to TED Talk video to get information about something because TED Talk has a reputation of going to experts, vetting them before they share the information, versus maybe a TikTok blog where somebody might be sharing some similar information, but you're not quite sure who they are, or no one's kind of backing them like, hey, they got something to share with you. They're pretty cool, they're an expert. So as you get into your topics as well with your levels of expertise, you'll have an idea of where can I go for trustworthy information, who can I trust, and then that'll help make your search a little bit more efficient. So where did you find the information? Where is it coming from? That can help you decide. Again, that idea of this is TikTok versus TED Talk, that can be an immediate thing you can look at. Another thing you can think about is its affiliations. Is this myself doing a TikTok on writing and research, where, I don't know, I've got my filters on, wearing bunny ears, trying to be funny, and you don't necessarily know that I've been trained formally to give that advice, your response to that video might be different than the one in this course that is been affiliated with the university and a particular course curriculum. So that is something that can help you decide, is this information I want to use? When was it published? This is very variable. This you shouldn't think, oh, it's old, so I shouldn't use it. But you want to think, is this information still relevant? If you're looking at data on health statistics, maybe nutrition from the 1950s, is that still relevant to the population that you're looking at right now? So if you're looking at a timeline, it might be informative. If you're looking at here's where we were, here where we are now, it might be informative. But if you're looking at that data to suggest this is a causal relationship for what people are eating right now, that doesn't quite sync up, even though it might be published by experts and it might be coming from a medical journal that you trust. Those statistics aren't directly related to what you're trying to do. So that's something to be mindful of. Maybe you want to see if anything's been updated since then. It's also important to consider, is what the source saying makes sense? As you're starting to do a research project, you're going to come across different points of view, different statistics, and they kind of start to fit together like a puzzle. And if you have one puzzle piece that you just can't figure out, how would this fit in? This doesn't even look like this is a part of this picture or this box. Then you might want to be a little suspicious or cautious about that information and dig a little bit around it and behind it to see, is this something that I want to base my thinking, my message on? And does the source you're looking at connect you with other sources? Does it let you know where it's getting its information, how it's using other information out there to come up with the author's message or data? So if you're, again, not seeing those links, or you don't know who wrote it and you don't know where the statistics are coming from, you don't know even if this is a person, maybe it's a scam robot site that just pumping stuff out there to get people's credit cards or something. If you can't tell, be leery, right? Do you want to base your reputation and your trust with readers on something that, man, that quote sounds so good, but I have no idea who's saying it? So be mindful of that too. We also kind of, with that, want to think about the source's agenda. Sometimes we come to different ideas and, writers have thesis statements. They have reasons why they're sharing the information. Are they writing to inform you? Maybe a newspaper that just says this happened on this date. Are they writing to persuade you? This thing that happened on this date was a good thing or a bad thing or led to something else. Are they writing to argue? Are they writing to influence you, writing to get you to act in some way? And so recognizing the agenda can just help you decide, okay, this is where this is coming from, and this is how I could use this information with my own audience. Being able to articulate biases or agendas when you're talking about a source only strengthens your conversation with your readers. So why is attribution important in college and in this particular situation? We are building a foundation in this course to help you strengthen the skills that are going to assist you in any rhetorical situation that you come across. So whether you are writing or publicly speaking for a class, you need to share where information's coming from. We've talked about different examples in class. If I'm going to make a recipe, right, and I just find this random TikTok video that has, here are the ingredients, and I watch somebody like break stuff and put it in a bowl, and voila, here's the end product. but they're not giving me any measurements. They're not telling me what temperature it's supposed to bake at. I'm kind of like, do I want to spend the money on the ingredients to try it at home if I don't have that information? Where is all of that information coming from? How do I know that I can trust this? How do I know that it's safe for me and my family? So if we want to build that trust, and we want to think logically, and we want to reach out ethically and engage our readers, we want to be transparent about how did we figure out what we figured out? Why do we think what we think? And being able to link that to sources that we trust helps us be able to contribute to the conversation, contribute to knowledge, and move things forward with our audiences. If you're not practicing attribution or giving credit to other people while you are at the university, then there's no light switch that gets flipped, right? When you walk across that stage of graduation, you don't start on one side a kid and end the other side, oh, I'm an adult who knows how to do all the things. College is a process where over the next 4 or so years you practice and you strengthen and things become muscle memory. So if you are practicing, how do I attribute and how do I base what I need to communicate on, things I trust, then you're going to become a professional who does that too. And you're going to be a voice that people listen to and a voice that people seek out moving forward into your professional life and your personal life as well. When you're working with information or graphics that come from other people, we have several different tools we can use in order to incorporate those other people's ideas, evidence, those sorts of things into our own texts and our own presentations. One of them is summary, and we're going to be practicing this throughout the term. The summary is putting other people's ideas into your own words. So when you say, hey, Pat was telling me, okay, this is a really great place to go eat, you're giving that opinion's credit to Pat, right? You didn't tell me blow by blow every single thing Pat said about the restaurant, but you summed it up, right? In essence, you don't want to listen to me give you a blow by blow of every single thing that happened in the movie we watched last night, right? That would take 2 hours. And so a summary would be maybe 1 or 2 sentences in my own words about what happened in the movie and what I thought it was about. This can be a wonderful tool to use when you're needing to share a big amount of information, maybe kind of summarizing an entire book or an entire article, or even maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs, the main idea of something in your own work. Summary is one of my favorites. I think I probably use summary even more than direct quote at this point. And direct quotation would be taking verbatim the language used by a source and putting quotations and marks around it to share that with your writers. I'm sorry, with your readers. And as writers, it can be a great tool to use when the idea is so succinctly, beautifully compact in that 1 or 2 sentences. I couldn't even begin to summarize that, right? The original author already did it so well, I'm going to pick that up and put it in. Or maybe the idea is using really unique language, or you're doing an analysis of what was said. And so having the original language helps you talk about what your thoughts are. So quotation can be really great in those moments where you want to preserve the original text. And another skill that you've been using throughout school is called paraphrase. This tool makes me a little uncomfortable as a writer. I rarely use this tool because I feel like it puts you in that area of how much am I borrowing from the original person? Like if I have their sentence and I've just changed one or two words, is that really mine at this point? Would they recognize that as being mine and not theirs? But when you're providing very small amounts of information, it can be helpful. Maybe things like definitions where people kind of generally know, like we all have the common language for that. Summary is putting, another person's words into your own. That might be a great place to use paraphrase. And we'll take some time to practice this during the course so we can get good at it and safe at it so that we're not unintentionally plagiarizing. So when do you need to provide attribution? Attribution, again, is giving credit, and we can do that in a lot of different ways. We're going to be practicing a little less formal style in the blogs we're writing. Later on in the term, when we create our own academic essay based on our blogs, you are going to choose the academic citation style that you would like to work with. But regardless of what way you're presenting that credit, we all need to be mindful of these things all the time. Are you sharing somebody else's idea, their words, their music, their image, their video? If it came from somebody else, you did not create it, stop, right? That is a moment where you need to be providing attribution or credit. How do you know how to tell your readers that? Well, based on your rhetorical situation. If I'm sitting in the cafeteria and I want to tell Pat's joke to this table of friends that I'm sitting with, it might be as casual as like, hey, Pat said the funniest thing this morning. Let me share that joke, right? Or if I'm working on my blog, then I'm looking at kind of best practices, industry standards. How are other people citing in their blogs? If I'm in my biology course, then I might be using CBE style because that's what my professor has asked me to use in the field. When I'm writing for the literary magazine, I might be using Chicago style for that. Or when I flip and I'm writing academically for assessment, I'm using APA. And when I'm writing academically for English related subjects, I'm using MLA. So sometimes you just have to ask if you don't know. And then once you've been told these are the expectations, you just have to find the style book, right? Find the handbook or find a model, say, could you show me what you want it to look like? And use that as a way to present your work, to format it. I cannot think of a situation where you will be told, quick, MLA citation for a movie, right? Or the world's going to have some horrible, dire consequence, right? So once you find your style guide, you just need to move slowly and follow the rules, just like a recipe. If I'm, looking at my recipe for a brownie and I skip the salt or I put in too much salt, it's just not going to turn out right. And so I just want to, follow the direction. So if it says, hey, give us the author's name, I'm going to give the author's name. Tell me the title. I'm going to tell you the title. Maybe a different citation style once the name of the magazine first and then the title. So I'm just going to follow the recipe that I've been given, move slowly so that I can do it as accurately as possible. There are a lot of different academic styles out there. Different disciplines have developed their own styles based on the needs in the professional field. So what you're using in college for your different classes is preparing you for engaging in writing and publication later on if you go into that career, or just introducing it to you so that as a reader, when you read things, even though you're not going into the field of psychology, you have a sense of what that is. Here's an example of some popular ones on campus. MLA is one that we're going to be referencing in our course just because we're in an English class and that is the standard for this field. APA is the American Psychological Association, and you might find that in quite a few of your classes. CBE is the Council of Biology Educators. So biology, if you're taking a class, you probably will be introduced to CBE. And we have different places like Purdue's Writing Lab, the OWL, that kind of house quite a few different styles that you can go to look up. And if you're ever asked to use a style that you Google and you just can't quite find a guidebook for, talk to your professor, talk to your boss, right? And ask them for those instructions so that you're able to follow them. If you visit Purdue OWL, there are a couple of different things that you'll be introduced to. So all of the different academic styles have a document design, a way they would like you to format your paper when you submit it for your professor's assignment or for publication. So here's some screenshots from Purdue's OWL that show you just the beginning of the instructions for paper format, the design of your English paper using MLA. And on the side there, you can see a sample of what that page would look like. Another kind of topic within that umbrella of style guides beyond document design would be in-text citation rules. So as you're writing your paper, your article, doing your presentation, how does the style wants you to let readers know where the information is coming from in your sentences? And so here's an example of the page that starts talking about basic in-text citation rules. And there's an example of one. So this is what it would look like in MLA format if you're citing a work by multiple authors. And notice our authors are Best and Marcus. And here you have two choices. You can put the author's last name in the sentence with the page number at the end and a parenthetical citation, or you can put both the author's last name and page number in a parenthetical citation following the information that's been borrowed. And a lot of academic styles kind of work with those rules. There might just be a little bit difference in the types of information they're looking for. For example, APA wants you to put the year of publication in there as well. And then the third component of a style guide would be, what does the works cited page or reference page or bibliography page look like? And so again, here's an example of the basic rules for starting a works cited page in MLA. In APA, it's a reference page, so it kind of depends on the field. MLA, it's called a works cited page because you only include on your list the sources you actually cite in the paper. Whereas in APA, a reference page may include some sources that you took a look at, but they are not cited in the paper. So you can see here an example of what a page on a website would look like. And again, I've given the formula and then I'm plugging in my source information to be able to create that. So that's kind of an overview of what you can expect from any one of the academic style guides that you might be asked to use. Again, you're looking at document design. What's the paper format supposed to look like? In-text citation, how do I let people know when I've borrowed information from somebody in my writing? And then 3, how do I get them information about how to go find that source on a works cited page, reference page, bibliography page at the end of the paper? So if you understand that you need those 3 components and you know that you need to cite somebody anytime you're borrowing something from them, you're ready to use any type of style. So looking ahead, we're going to be practicing different ways to incorporate summary, direct quotation, different styles of creating sentences in our blogs that help us communicate to our readers when and how we're using information from sources. And this is going to build that muscle memory, that foundation for later on in the term when you create your longer academic paper, and you'll be able to have an opportunity to try out one of those styles, the one you think you might be using most in future. Or if you just want to check out MLA, I'm definitely happy to help support you learn that one as well. I hope that you are enjoying writing your weekly blogs, and I can't wait to read your next one.